Your bank just hid $3,500 in escrow fees and you probably don't even know it yet. I'm Daniel Pierce. I spent 12 years as a mortgage broker and I watched thousands of homeowners walk into closing thinking they understood their costs, only to discover fees they never negotiated, never expected, and frankly never should have paid. Today I'm exposing the escrow account fee scam that banks don't want you to understand. Let me start with something I saw last month. A client of mine, first-time buyer, smart woman, did her homework, received a closing disclosure showing closing costs of $9,240 on a $340,000 home purchase. She thought she was ready. Then I reviewed the itemized breakdown line by line. There it was, $2,100 in escrow setup fees, $800 in escrow analysis fees, and $600 in annual escrow maintenance fees. That's $3,500 in fees she could have negotiated or eliminated entirely. She had no idea they existed until I pointed them out 2 days before closing. That's not unusual, that's the standard playbook. Let me break down what's actually happening here. When you buy a home with a mortgage, your lender typically requires you to set up an escrow account. This is the account where your monthly mortgage payment goes, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance all bundled together. The escrow account holds your property tax money and homeowners insurance payments, then pays those bills on your behalf throughout the year. It's a protection mechanism for the lender. But here's where it gets predatory. Setting up and maintaining that account costs your lender almost nothing. They use software, they use automated systems. Yet they charge you $1,500 to $3,000 in setup fees, then tack on annual maintenance charges. I've reviewed closing documents from Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, local credit unions, doesn't matter. They all do this. Let me give you the numbers so you understand the scale. On the national median home price of $420,000 in 2024, total closing costs typically run between 2% and 5% of your loan amount. That's $8,400 to $21,000 in total closing costs. Most buyers focus on the big ones: title, insurance, appraisal, origination fees. But escrow fees are embedded in that range. And because they're buried in a 30-page closing disclosure, most people miss them entirely. Here's what I've seen in my experience. Escrow setup fees, $800 to $2,500. Banks charge this as a one-time fee to establish your escrow account. In reality, they're running a software program. The fee is pure profit. I reviewed a Wells Fargo closing last year where they charged $1,850 in escrow setup on a $380,000 purchase. The buyer never questioned it. When I asked the loan officer why, she honestly said, "We charge it to everyone." That's not a reason, that's a business model. Escrow analysis fees, $300 to $900. This is where banks really get creative. They charge an escrow analysis fee, supposedly for analyzing your property tax and insurance obligations to calculate the correct monthly escrow payment. Except lenders have been doing this calculation for decades. They have tax records online, they have insurance quotes, the analysis takes minutes, the fee is arbitrary. I've seen some lenders charge $450, others charge $675 for the exact same service. No difference in the loan, just different fee structures. Annual escrow maintenance or service fees, $150 to $400 per year. Some lenders charge this every single year you hold the mortgage. It's described as a service charge or account administration fee on a 30-year mortgage at 6.8%, which is roughly where 30-year rates were sitting in late 2024. That's $4,500 to $12,000 in fees over the life of your loan, just for the privilege of letting the bank hold money that's already yours. Now here's the thing I want you to understand. These fees are not universal. They're not required by law, they're lender policy. Some lenders charge them, some don't, some will waive them if you ask. Most borrowers never ask because they don't know these fees exist. When I was actively brokering mortgages, I worked with 3 primary lenders. One charged $1,500 in escrow setup. Another charged $600. The third charged nothing if your down payment was above 20%, because with low loan-to-value ratios, they carry less risk. That's the leverage you have. Most buyers don't use it. Let me walk you through a real scenario from my client files. About 14 months ago, I helped a couple review loan estimates for $385,000 purchase in a moderate cost market. Their first-time buyer down payment was 12%, which triggered PMI at roughly 0. 75% of the loan amount, standard for loan-to-value ratios above 80%. One lender offered a 6.8% rate with closing costs of $10,200. The competing lender offered 6.9% with closing costs of $8,900. The couple wanted to take the first loan because of the rate. But when I itemized both closing disclosures, the first lender had $2,100 in escrow-related fees. The second lender had $450. Suddenly, the rate advantage disappeared. The total cost of the first loan was actually $200 higher once you factored in all fees over the first 5 years of ownership. They went with lender 2, saved $200. and they only knew about it because I reviewed the documents. You don't have to be a mortgage broker to spot these fees yourself. Here's exactly what to do. When your lender sends you a loan estimate, scan for the closing cost itemization section. Look for any line item with the word escrow, setup, analysis, service, or account in the description. Write down the dollar amounts. Then, and this is important, call your lender and ask for a fee-by-fee justification. Ask why escrow setup costs $1,500. Ask what analysis is being performed that justifies $700. Ask if those fees are negotiable. Most of the time, lenders will reduce them or waive them just because you asked. Banks count on silence. I've also seen first-time buyers successfully negotiate escrow fees away entirely by threatening to walk to a competing lender. On a $350,000 home with a 15-year mortgage at 6.1%, rates in that range were common through 2024. Shopping between 3 lenders could legitimately save you $1,500 to $3,000 in total closing costs, including escrow fees. Most buyers only shop one lender because they're exhausted by the process. That exhaustion is profitable for banks. Here's another pattern I've noticed. Escrow fees are often bundled with other services that are also optional. Appraisal rush fees, processing fees, underwriting fees, these all get lumped together on your closing disclosure. You see a big number and assume it's fixed. It's not. Each component is negotiable, especially if you have a down payment above 20% or strong credit above 750. Lenders have pricing flexibility, they just don't volunteer it. One more thing I want to mention. If you're refinancing, you're especially vulnerable to escrow fee overreach. When you refinance, you're technically closing a loan and opening a new one. That means new escrow fees. I reviewed a refinance file last year where a borrower's lender charged $1,200 in new escrow setup even though the borrower had an existing escrow account with that same lender. It was the same account, same servicer, but because the loan number changed, they charged again. When I questioned it, they waived the fee immediately. Why? Because it wasn't justified and the borrower had leverage, they could refinance with someone else. The key principle here is this: escrow account fees are lender profit, not lender necessity. Yes, lenders need to manage escrow accounts. Yes, there's a minimal cost, but $1,500 to $3,000 in setup fees. That's profit extraction, not cost recovery. And because closing is confusing and overwhelming, most buyers never notice. If you're shopping for a mortgage right now, add this to your due diligence. Get loan estimates from at least 3 lenders. Ask each one to itemize escrow-related fees specifically. Compare those items across all 3 estimates, then call your preferred lender and ask them to match or beat the lowest escrow fee offer. This single step could save you $1,000 to $2,500 at closing. Smart buyers ask the questions banks hope you skip. That's the difference between walking into closing confident in your numbers and walking out discovering fees you never negotiated. If this video helped you understand where hidden fees hide, subscribe to the Wealth Frame channel. I break down home buying mistakes